G'day guys and gal, everyone loves the Deathwatch, unless you're a filthy Xeno or Games Workshop apparently, as their range is well overdue for a refresh, but that is neither here nor there. As the Deathwatch are the ultimate anti-Xeno fighting force, and as their missions always involve clutch as hell, spec ops teams doing extremely niche funky shit, they have some awesome, super interesting moments in the lore, whether it be trying to rescue a Genestealer impregnated wannabe Inquisitor from our own version of the Alien movies, or stealing a psychic orc crown that could be the key to beating the Nids, or even preventing the awakening of an Elder God of Death. The Deathwatch have done it all, and that is worth talking about. Before we get started, getting fit and healthy is a lot more about tips, tricks, and hacks than it is about torturing yourself or having unbreakable willpower. The best thing you can do to lose weight is find healthy alternatives to unhealthy food, which is why I've partnered up with Magic Spoon today to sort you out. Snacks and breakfast cereals can be some of the most sugary, calorie-dense food out there. Magic Spoon fixes this by offering delicious, sweet cereals with high protein and little to no sugar. You get all the joy of the cereal with none of the drawback. However, the hero of today's partnership is the Magic Spoon Treats, obscenely delicious snacks that genuinely taste like you're having a decadent treat, but only have 1 gram of sugar, a high protein, high fiber, and did I say taste amazing. Like, I literally burnt through most of the samples they sent me before filming because I couldn't resist. Probably not a good marketing strategy to eat everything before filming, but if anything, it's just a huge compliment to them. They've also released a new granola range, which is wheat-free, high protein, and also yummy. To be honest, I'm not really a granola guy, but if you are, it seems like a great option in every regard. So to hack your diet effortlessly, use my link and code Majorkill, which will get you $5 off your order. Magic Spoon is so confident that you'll love them that they have a 100% no questions asked money back guarantee if you don't. So that's magicspoon.com/Majorkill, or just use the QR code on screen for $5 off. Cheers to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over 5 of the Deathwatch's most insane missions, classed by how high the stakes were, how unique the situation was, and my own expert but biased opinion. Let's get into it. The Deathwatch are kind of like the Grey Knights, but instead of hunting demons, they hunt aliens. That isn't to say Grey Knights can't poon aliens or Deathwatch can't poon demons, but both subfactions are specialists, so generally steer towards what they're good at. As a bit of short context on what the Deathwatch actually is, every Space Marine chapter will occasionally send Space Marines to temporarily join the Deathwatch. Hence, the Deathwatch is made up of many diverse Space Marines, thus making it quite interesting. A Deathwatch squad could have a Blood Angel, Space Wolf, Ultramarine, Dark Angel, and let's say an Exorcist Marine all in one, all working together and using their diversity to overcome complex situations. Now yes, they are all also trained by the watch captains of the Deathwatch on advanced Xeno hunting techniques and how to best work together, but the members of the Deathwatch still carry their own chapter's insignia, as being a part of the Deathwatch is not a mark of shame. Well, at least not for everyone. Some Space Marines who have foregone their chapter and renounced it, perhaps because the chapter fell to chaos and they managed to escape, will submit themselves to the Deathwatch as a black shield. The Deathwatch will psychically scan them to ensure their loyalty, and if they are loyal, they will accept them. No more questions asked. So with the basics covered, let's get into the missions. The first I want to go over was kind of an L for the galaxy, as it showed that the Deathwatch's strict anti-Xeno stance may not have always been the best idea. So basically, the Eldar are looking for a way out of their Slaanesh debacle, that being that all Eldar souls are claimed by Slaanesh, so when they die, the god of anal pain gets to consume them unless they protect themselves with Spirit Stones. The issue is that because of this claim, the Eldar are struggling to rebuild as Spirit Stones are hard to get. They also can't use too much psychic power, otherwise they risk also being consumed. So they are struggling to breed and they have been nerfed. The Dark Eldar are plentiful in number but cannot use psychic powers, hence also nerfed, and need to constantly raid real space for slaves, which puts them in harm's way. Without Slaanesh, the Eldar Empire would rise again and be extremely powerful. The Eldar's current best chance at this is Yened, the god of death who is currently dormant. If they awoke Yened, it would have a greater claim on the Eldar's soul than Slaanesh, and could battle then destroy Slaanesh, freeing the Eldar race. The only issue is that originally Yened would only awaken if all Eldar died, which the Eldar weren't super keen on. However, Eldrad Ulthwan, the only Eldar that seems to actually ever do anything, came up with a plan. If he could channel the power of many dead Farseers from across all the craft worlds and perform a ritual on a psychic crystal moon, the energy would be so great that it could turbocharge Yened and force an awakening. The issue was that the moon was under the Imperium's control, hence Eldrad attacked the local planet it orbited as a distraction and then begun his ritual. However, the issue was that if Yened did indeed awaken this way, all Eldar craft worlds would get EMP'd and disabled, making them vulnerable. And the Astronomicon, and perhaps even the Emperor himself, would get kicked in the balls extremely hard. Squad, so basically it would fuck the Eldar and the Imperium in the ass, with the trade-off being that Slaanesh would likely be destroyed. The Deathwatch detected the ritual and sent a strike team to stop it. Watch Captain Artemis, one of the greatest heroes of the Deathwatch, personally led his forces against Eldrad. Eldrad tried to reason with Artemis, telling him they could defeat Slaanesh, but Artemis was like, "Do I look like a fucking Grey Knight to you, mate? I kill aliens. You are an alien." I'm just going to assume Artemis is extremely Australian. So the two sides fought, with Artemis gaining the upper hand and forcing Eldrad to withdraw, the ritual incomplete. The crystal moon was destabilized by the aborted ritual and then blew up, removing any chance of re-attempting the ritual. It wasn't a total waste though. Yened was stirred and gained a level of sentience, allowing it to choose Yvraine as its champion and also spawn the Yinkarni, its avatar. However, G-Dub seems to be moving away from the Ynnari storyline as a whole, as evident by it stating in the new codex that Eldrad is now sick of the Ynnari and is looking into other methods of saving his people. However, it's not really clear if it would have been worth it to awaken Yened. Sure, getting rid of Slaanesh would have been cool, but Slaanesh does the least out of all the Chaos Gods by far, and if it fucked over the Imperium by messing up the Astronomicon, the consequences may have been far worse. I guess we'll never know. The Deathwatch are often sent in when other people fuck up. As much as the Imperium likes to say that all Xeno shit is banned and hated, they do love fucking around with it, and this causes issues for everyone, and then they go, "Oops, sorry, tee-hee, Deathwatch go in." Nothing highlights this more than the Deathwatch's mission to retrieve an Eldar artifact that did not end up being an Eldar artifact. It was a big-ass dormant Tyranid, which would have been fine if the Mechanicus didn't proceed to drop said Tyranid, which busted it open and caused said big-ass Tyranid to begin killing people. The plot twist was that the Tyranids and the Eldar sort of owned the planet before humanity did, another hint towards Tyranid scout forces stumbling upon the Milky Way many years before the Tyranids actually started coming in force. The Deathwatch threw everything at the Nids, Space Marines, a Dreadnought, and an obscene amount of firepower, before then blowing up the entire area as a surefire way to make sure the threat was well and truly contained. Then to really clean it all up, they killed all witnesses outside of the Inquisition's forces. Since the Deathwatch are the militant wing of the Ordo Xenos, they carried out the executions and were themselves exempt. This did actually show off one of the potential problems within the Deathwatch's structure of jamming different chapter Space Marines into the same squad. The Exorcist Marine and the team fulfilled the orders of the Inquisition without hesitation, as they are quite closely tied to them, whereas the Death Spectre, who themselves are descendant from the Raven Guard, a chapter known for its dislike of oppressive higher authorities like the Inquisition, did not want to obey the order and wasn't stoked about it. The Deathwatch constantly faces these kinds of hard choices and dilemmas due to the nature of their work, and although it rarely results in violence or mutiny, squads are often disbanded and reformed if the cultural differences become too great. Saying someone in Warhammer 40k is controversial is like saying fucking a dude in the ass as another dude is pretty gay. No shit, everything in 40k is controversial, that's kind of the entire point. However, Inquisitor Kryptman really takes this to a whole nother level. He was actually the first Inquisitor to discover the Tyranids and their threat to the Imperium, naming them the Tyranids after they consumed the Imperial world of Tyran. He would instantly recognize their extreme threat and do everything in his power to stop them. As he was a respected Inquisitor Lord, he was able to wield a large Deathwatch force. So instead of just speaking about one single thing he did, I'll give an overview of all the extreme shit he has done with the Deathwatch in the name of combating the Tyranid threat. Some of his ideas were brilliant and won the day, others have been quite questionable and may have fucked over the galaxy pretty hard. To start off, Kryptman was the first to propose prematurely exterminating loyal Imperial worlds that were in the path of a hive fleet to deny the Tyranids the biomass. This was heavily opposed by the Ultramarines, but Kryptman did it anyway, blowing up worlds with billions of innocent Imperial citizens on them. This got Kryptman heavily censured as he did it multiple times, however it is actually a pretty good idea. Do you blow up a world, denying it to the enemy to increase your chances of overall victory, or do you let the Tyranids consume it, reducing your chances of overall victory? This Firebreak Exterminatus technique has recently become the go-to Imperial policy, as evident by the female Custodian vs Tyranid Warhammer Plus episode, where the Custodian literally speaks about the new policy before ordering a Space Marine chapter to blow up a world that they have been oath-bound to protect. Another spicy Kryptman moment was when the Hive Mind sent a Lictor to assassinate him, as it recognized the threat he posed. Instead of killing the Lictor, Kryptman got the Deathwatch to capture it, which ended up being a great idea, as the Lictor's venom was reverse engineered and then used to poison the Tyranid Norn Queen, decimating the Nid forces. Kryptman then did the most controversial thing in his career that literally got him declared a traitor. There was a whole cordon of Imperial worlds in the path of Hive Fleet Leviathan. Kryptman waited for each to be invaded by the Nids before then instantly virus bombing them, killing the world and the invading Nids. Worlds that could have potentially weathered the invasion were also not spared, no exceptions. The loss of life was obscene and nothing had been seen like it since the Horus Heresy, but the effect it had on slowing the Nid advance was also massive. Kryptman told the Inquisition to lick his nuts, avoided capture, and he kept doing his thing. So a lot of people actually agreed with Kryptman, and much of the Deathwatch remained loyal to him due to him actually getting out in the field and busting his balls for them, not being a wanky bureaucrat from behind the scenes. So with that said, Kryptman then performed his final controversial act, and this one may have actually been a bad idea. He noticed that when the Orcs and Tyranids fought, it turned into a a really drawn out vicious conflict that decimated both sides. So he captured some Genestealers at massive cost, put them in stasis, and then put them on board a Space Hulk and sent that Space Hulk crash landing into the Orc Empire of Octarius. This ended up luring a large hive fleet out of Imperial space and into the Orc Empire, where the Mega War for Octarius took place. At first it seemed like a good idea. The Tyranids and Orcs locked in mortal combat. However, it soon became apparent that both sides were becoming more powerful from the conflict, not weaker, with the Tyranids recently winning and emerging from the war zone swollen with biomass and experience, something the Imperium has labelled as an unholy mess that needs to be cleaned up. And listing Kryptman as the biggest fuckwit ever. So yeah, dude is an interesting one, and I thought I would mention him since all of his actions were done by the Deathwatch. This next insane mission is worth talking about since it involves a Xeno race we have never seen before, as well as the legendary Captain Artemis, the man who clapped Eldrad and stopped the awakening of Yned. It involved the Knib, a heavily psychic Xeno race engineered by the Old Ones. They invaded an Imperial world and begun psychically enslaving its people. In fact, their power was so great that they could even dominate and mind control Space Marines, which they did to Artemis's squad. Even with their captain, who was a psyker, trying to shield their minds, 3 of the Deathwatch fell under the aliens' control, causing them to kill 2 of their brothers, whilst Artemis in turn had to kill his fallen comrades. The survivors fought like hell to stay alive and wait for evac. However, eventually their psychic shielding failed, and the squad leader was killed by another mind-controlled battle brother. Artemis took command, said enough was enough, and escaped the planet, but not before exterminating the shit out of it, ending the Knib threat. It's always fascinating seeing these niche but powerful alien forces rear their heads as opposed to the usual suspects. Also wild to see how easily they twisted the minds of the Deathwatch. Not even Chaos Demons can bend Space Marines that easily. And finally, the last mission I want to talk about was actually a massive nod to the Alien franchise, which the Genestealers are somewhat inspired by. The Inquisition wanted to study the Genestealers, so they deliberately allowed an Imperial world to be infected before then sending an Inquisitorial agent down to the world with the intention of getting them infected and then rescued so the study could go further. Overall, a fucking shit idea that ended terribly. We get a particularly disgusting scene where the Deathwatch have infiltrated the Genestealer nest and discover dozens of women semi-enclosed in biomatter who were raped and now have a Genestealer growing inside of them that will explode out of them, killing the women painfully before then eating their corpses. The women are in agony the entire time. See, that is how the Genestealer generations work. The first few are born normally as they are designed to pass as humans and infiltrate. However, when they start birthing the powerful pure strain Genestealers, it's a disgusting affair similar to that of Alien. It has been a while since I've read that story, however I'm pretty sure it ends with the agent getting extracted for study and the world getting blown up due to the Genestealer infestation getting out of hand. The Deathwatch having to do the heavy lifting because the fuckwits in the Inquisition that are too pussy for field duty keep coming up with quite literally the worst ideas possible. But yeah, happy to be corrected on that one if I messed it up. I'm just still scarred from when I read the scene regarding the women. Yucky. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up the Space Elf Titan or the True Skull King Orc. We have limited stock of both and they're selling out fast. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.